Hey,
Yo, what's going on?
can you hear me good?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's going on?
Good, man. How things been? All right.
Yeah, what's going on with you?
Keeping busy, dude. No complaints. Been busy working a few different fights, doing some legal work, stuff like that. So, it's been good.
Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Fight Talk Podcast with your boy, the What's Next Kid here, sponsored by Long Island Boxing Charities, of course. Well, tell me a little bit about Long Island Boxing Charities.
Yeah, so Long Island Boxing Charities is a charity that my friend and I, Matt Palmieri, run together. We really try and give back to the boxing community, specifically fighters who, give so much to the sport throughout their careers. And then on the back end of their careers, unfortunately, unlike baseball or football, where fighters have pensions or they have medical, insurance and things of that nature, boxers don't. So what we try and do is fundraise and give back to fighters who have fallen on hard times, whether that's with medical issues or education in terms of drug and alcohol abuse, different things of that nature. And then more recently, we've started focusing on some amateur fighters and amateur gyms and trying to give back to those younger fighters coming up through the system so they could learn a little bit more about what it takes to be a pro boxer and the business side of the sport, as well as just having the necessary equipment and things they need to be successful and learn what boxing's all about and learn the discipline that boxing teaches.
Well, tell me about some of the stuff you do in boxing because I remember seeing you at one of my brother's fights, right? And I was like, "Wait, who's that guy? What is he even here for? Who's this guy?" I no, I actually thought that in my head. I was
Yeah.
like little at the time, right? I saw you outside. It was at the Hard Rock Casino Hotel, and you were outside by my brother. He's chilling at the pool because he had a fight the next day, and you were there. I was like, "Who's this guy?" I was like to my dad, "Who's the big guy over there? What's he
Yeah.
doing? What's he even here for?"
Yeah. So, I think in boxing, people know the promoters, right? The business side of boxing will say, obviously, they know the fighters, they know the promoters, and then there's like a layer of really good, hardworking people that make those promotions come to life, whether that's production or marketing or legal or operations. So for me, when I started in boxing, I actually began as an intern with Joe DeGuardia at Star Boxing. I had absolutely no idea what boxing was about. I didn't really know much about the sport. It wasn't something that I was like interested in or was like a fan of growing up, really. So it was just kind of on a whim. I landed an internship, and the first event I worked that summer was at Mohegan Sun, and it was a star boxing show, Slugfest at the Sun, and I just fell in love with the sport. The glitz, the glam of it, of course, but also just getting to know the fighters. Recognizing that a lot of these guys are just good people. You know what I mean? Guys and girls are good people who just have this ability to turn a switch and get in the ring and cause violence and cause a car crash in the ring, and then get out and respect their opponent and appreciate them. So once that happened, then I fell in love with the sport. I figured I got to figure out a way to stick around. So I pitched Joe DeGuardia at Star Boxing on doing his social media and running his social media accounts. So when I went back to college, I was able to do that and stay involved. And that's actually when your brother Joe Smith, he got the call for the Bernard Hopkins fight. So I got sent out to California with Joe and Joe DeGuardia and Joe Smith and Jerry and Phil and everybody, and we got to be out there for one of probably the biggest fight at the time. It was by far the biggest fight I ever worked, but one of the biggest moments in boxing in recent memory when Joe Smith knocked Bernard Hopkins out of the ring. And from that moment, if I wasn't invested in boxing, it was going to happen naturally from that explosive moment. From there, I went to law school during my time while working with Joe to get a law degree because I recognized that a lot of people in the sport that were of high level and making good money and in it were attorneys. So I figured that was a good education to get. And then I became the vice president of operations for Star Boxing. So in that role, I basically took on the supervising of like the events that Star Boxing was doing from start to finish. Matchmaking I was involved in, medicals for fighters, getting the venue ready for fight night, all the things that go into when you show up as a fan to the event, you're just seeing the lights and the fights. And for us, it's a 3 month, 4 month, sometimes work ethic experience of getting that all in place for one big night. And then from there, I moved on to a company called Overtime Boxing, I was doing a lot of operation work for them for 2 years. And most recently, as of January, I moved into my own law firm. So now it's Palmieri Law. My dad is an attorney actually as well. So I head up the sport and entertainment sector of the business and been really working with a lot of really cool promoters, really good managers, fighters, just helping them through legal issues and different things like that. So I've had a lot of array of different experiences, and from social media to marketing to matchmaking, legal side of it. So I've seen a lot, done a lot, and I just look to continue to help fighters and people in the business as best I can.
Well, listen, I was at one of Star Boxing's last card, and there was a match there, and it was just the guy should have never been in the ring with the one guy. It was the opponent. I looked up who the guy was. It was
Mm,
a guy who gets beat all the time, but actually one of Star Boxing's guys, right? I looked up who the guy was. Now Star Boxing is promoting him a lot, right? I was like, oh,
yep.
this guy must be the big deal. So I looked into him. It's 13-1, right? So I looked who that one defeat was, and I know who the guy he lost to is. That
Mm,
guy is an opponent who
mm.
literally like goes in there to get knocked out,
Yeah.
and that guy wind up knocking this guy out, who's 13-1. So
Wow.
yeah.
Hey, listen, like I always say, right? One punch could change somebody's life, and that you've seen it in your own family, and it's the truth. Regardless of a guy's record, regardless of where he's come from or his previous fights, if you don't take a guy seriously, a girl seriously in that ring, one punch could change your life for better or worse. So that's the sphere of entertainment, I guess, that boxing brings.
Well, for the people meeting you for the first time on the live, who are you to them?
Yeah, my name's Tony Palmieri. I've been in boxing, like I said, for about the last decade, almost 11 years now, and yeah, I'm just one of the guys. I like to think. I guess I'm one of the guys that just kind of make the sport go, and I'm behind the scenes mostly. You're not gonna really see my face on the Instagrams and the things of that nature. But like I said, there's a layer of people in the sport that really push the sport along, the business side of it, the event side of it, and yeah, I've been involved in that side for a long time now.
Well, currently you're legal counsel for Rising Star Promotions, right?
Yeah, Thomas Lamana, Cornflake. He's one of my clients. Great guy. I've been a pleasure working with him. Just helping him through contract work and stuff, because every fighter needs a contract, every venue needs a contract, every sponsor gets a contract. So a lot of these, you don't realize the nitty grittiness of like having to do that for each and every event and each and every fighter. So yeah, so working with Cornflake has been great, and in the Northeast. I've been helping out with Pacquiao Promotions, which has been an awesome experience getting to meet Manny Pacquiao and working on the fights with them out west. I've been involved with Salida Promotions now a little bit as well in Detroit and Atlanta. So it's really enabled me to kind of spread my wings and meet a lot of new people in the sport, and bring value to different entities depending on what they need.
So how did you first get with Rising Star Promotions?
Yeah, so there was a fighter that I worked with at Overtime named Kurt Scobie, and his manager is a guy named Danny Gonzalez, based out of Jersey, and Danny also manages Cornflakes. So Danny and I were talking, when I was deciding to move into my own thing, and Danny's also an attorney in New Jersey, and we were just talking about boxing in general, and he mentioned Cornflake, and I said, oh, I haven't really spoken much to Cornflake, like I've met him before, but maybe I'll give him a call and see if he needs any help, and it just kind of organically led into what I'm doing for him now. And honestly, like for anyone out there listening or trying to get into boxing, that's what it's all about right there. It's about creating the network, finding the people that you could speak to, learn from, and then using that network to kind of grow into what it is that you want to do. And sometimes, like I said, when I started, I had no idea about boxing. I didn't know about the business. I didn't know about fighters really. And sometimes you start in one place and you end up somewhere completely different that you didn't expect, but that's okay. Like I think that's part of the journey of figuring it out.
Well, how does being an attorney give you a different perspective in boxing?
Yeah, so I think it gives me a really big different perspective than most people. I think law school I think shapes your mind to think of situations differently, and it doesn't necessarily mean that like every situation has to revolve around contract or legal terms or things that people think of when they think of an attorney. But even in a situation where like you're at a fight and there's a fight in the crowd, for example, in the Hard Rock when Joe Smith fought Jesse Hart, there was a huge fight in the crowd that took place. So your mind, like when people see that, they say, "Oh, look, there's a fight. Let me take a video of it. Let me watch it." In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, like who where's liability, like who could get sued because of this, who could get in trouble, like make sure my guys are not involved because I don't want my guys to get in trouble, or I don't want my fighter involved, different things of that nature. The venue that you're working with, you don't want to look like you instigated the fight because then it looks like you're unprofessional. So you think of things like that, I think, in moments where other people are just like, oh, look, there's a brawl happening. And that's just one example. I think, in terms of negotiations and stuff like that, your mind is just, taught to think in a different kind of way, 2 steps ahead as best as you can. And that's what your legal training is for. That's why you get the degree. So it's been super helpful in my experience. And without it, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, and at the Jesse Hart fight, everybody was just chanting, "Run, Jesse, run!" Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
all you heard.
Yep, yep, yep.
I messaged Jesse Hart to come on my show, and he said yes. And then, like months later, I kept saying, "Hey, champ, when are we doing it? Hey, champ." Like every day,
Yeah,
hey champ, what's going on? Call everybody champ because they love hey champ.
yeah.
And then I get no response. Like it's like he said yes, and then now 2 months later, still nothing.
Yeah, look, I'll say this, and it's kind of to what I said, earlier. You meet guys like I met Jesse for the first time when he was fighting Joe Smith, and in that fight week, there was a lot of tension. There was a lot of like back and forth, between them and just the fan base and stuff like that. Um, but then once it ended, and I met him, maybe almost 2 years later, great guy, like super kind. He's funny to be around. He's got a funny sense of humor, all that kind of stuff. And that's why it's like the switch. Like I said, people just are able to flip a switch when it comes to fight week and outside of fight week, and that always impressed me about certain fighters.
Now, what do you look for when evaluating? I don't know why I cannot say this word right.
That's like evaluate.
Young prospects.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say the word right now.
That's okay. Yeah, I think from a scouting perspective, like there's a lot of key factors right now, especially like as social media becomes more prevalent, right? Like it's not necessarily only about skill, it's about how does somebody present themselves, right? At the end of the day, you're promoting a fighter because they connect with people, whether that's because, like, for example, I'm Italian, so do I connect with other Italian people just because I'm Italian? I'm from New York, so maybe I connect with New Yorkers because I'm a New Yorker like them. There's a lot of different reasons and ways in which you can find storylines and connect those to other fans and say, okay, this person has a really good strong fan base before they ever step in the ring. From a talent standpoint, obviously that's a massive part of it. I think for me, like I always try and look at footwork first. Obviously a guy can have natural power, a guy can have fast hands, but the feet are where he's going to make the biggest difference in the ring. And that's where I think he'll be able to, he or she, I should say, is able to separate themselves from a fighter who just has quick hands or has one punch knockout power. Now, of course, fans love knockout power. That's never going to change. So that's also something you look at. And then finally, I think you have to look at the character of the person that you're talking to or scouting, right? If you're a great fighter and you have all the skill in the world and maybe you have the best footwork and the best hands, but I know I can't keep you out of trouble, or you're not going to be ready when I need you to be ready, or the opportunities are going to be there and you're not going to be able to take them. That's a huge part of it too. You know what I mean? You want somebody with good character to represent your brand as a promoter going forward. And then I would say the final thing is who you surround yourself with. And I like to tell fighters all the time, like, to me, I think keeping your team small is the best thing you could do. And not to keep jumping back to Joe, but like, coming up with Joe Smith, it was Jerry, Phil, and his family, and that was it. Like there wasn't a big group of people that really surrounded Joe when it came time for fights. And I think that's really important because you have to stay focused. And the more people that are around, the less those people are going to do for you, right? There's only so much people could do for you. So what are the leeches that hang around fighters? Or they're looking for money, they're looking for just the photo on Instagram, and they don't really care about you. So I think all of those things together make what a fighter starting out could be, and kind of placing them into a list of like, okay, check, 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 and now let's work with this person because he or she meets all of those criteria.
Now, on OTX one time, right, there was this post of this Greek fighter, right? They
Yeah.
said he was going to be the first world champion in 100 years, right? Now, I guess they totally forgot, right? Or they didn't do their research, or a lack of,
Hmm.
Sonia Lamatakis,
Yeah.
a world champion, who's Greek.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's funny you say that because there's, I think. I think with the renaissance of women's boxing right now, with women's boxing becoming so much more mainstream, let's say, um, I think there's a generation of female fighters who almost get forgotten, unfortunately. Alicia Napoleon, as an example, with Long Island Boxing Charities, like we just awarded her a lifetime achievement award, former world champion from Long Island, but like she doesn't get the recognition of being a pioneer that like I think she was in women's boxing, especially in New York. Frankie G's wife was also the same thing. She's a former world champion, in Long Island, and again doesn't get the recognition that she should. And then Sonya, same thing. Like and I don't think it comes from a bad place. I don't think it comes from anyone just pretending like they didn't win their titles or they didn't have their accolades. But I think again it comes to education. Like people just don't know that those fighters were the pioneers of women's boxing. Really, when you think about it, so it's a shame, and it's something that promoters I think could do a better job of recognizing.
Well, what do you think about Jake Paul and Most Valued Promotions? They're doing pretty good by women fighters.
Yeah, look, I think what Jake Paul is doing is impressive, obviously, and Nikisa. I think they've built obviously a very strong stable of fighters. They're working with three fighters that over time when I was at Overtime that we built into world champions. O'Shea Jones, Liana Cruz is assumed to be world champion, and then Tierra Brown. So those are three female fighters to look out for on their roster now. Yeah, I think you're seeing generally across sports, right? Like the Caitlin Clarks of the world becoming more and more famous, bringing attention to WNBA, and tennis has obviously always been a big thing for women's sports, but even more so now. And I think like women's boxing is kind of on that rise, and they landed an ESPN deal, and so those female fighters get the opportunity to be on ESPN, which was never a focus. It was always just boxing. Now it's female boxing. They landed the Sky Sports deal, so all of these things are good for just the sport because it brings eyeballs. And at the end of the day, good, bad, or indifferent, if people are watching, that helps. It helps the sport. It helps market the sport.
Now, Tia Brown, right? I might have pronounced her first a bit messed
Tierra,
up.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. But anyways, with her, I followed her for like I think 2 years so far on Instagram since 2024, and she's doing really good. I like how she fights, and I like what she brings to boxing, and she's got some good followers. I think she's got like 23,000 on Instagram around.
Yeah, no, she's a great person. She's super dedicated to her craft. She was like one of the most standout female amateurs of all time, I'm pretty sure, coming up. It took her a while to get her opportunity, and I was glad while I was at Overtime to help be a part of landing her the fight against Sky Nicholson in Australia, and cutting that deal with Matchroom and getting her that chance. And she went out to a really difficult place to win as an away fighter, and fought and beat Sky Nicholson fair and square. And now she's the 126-pound champion of the world, the WBC, and she earned that. One other thing I'll say about it is it's not like it wasn't just that one night that she earned that title. She earned that title over 15 years. 20 years of dedication to the sport. And when her opportunity rang and it was her time to get her name called, she gave everything she had and came out victorious. And that is to me what's the best part of the sport, watching somebody give their lives work to, becoming something of a champion when they finally get that opportunity.
See, I didn't even know they fought Sky Nicholson and Brown. I didn't even like. I
Yeah,
never heard
yeah.
anything. No posters or nothing.
So the thing was, what back when, nobody really wanted to fight Tiara. She's tough. She can box. She can move well. And I think like
Yeah.
at that point, um, we had to get her to the mandatory position. That was the only way we were going to get her an opportunity because nobody was selecting to fight Tiara Brown. So a little inside baseball, but like when a world champion has to make a voluntary defense, they have to pick somebody in the top 15, right? You can't just pick anybody. They have to be somebody rated in the top 15 of that sanctioning body. So Tierra had been rated in the top 15 for years, but nobody's going to select her because she's a really tough fight. So the next best way for a promoter to get her in a position to fight for that title is to move her up the rankings and get her into that number one mandatory spot. And then they don't have a choice. She can either vacate the title and not fight her or fight her for the mandatory, because she's the mandatory. So we finally got her in that mandatory spot, and then we got that opportunity. They made us an offer that was, frankly, like a low blow. It wasn't anything big. I think they showed that they didn't really want to fight her. They were hoping we would turn it down. But Tierra worked her whole life for an opportunity like that, and she was willing, ready, and able. And she went and made made as best of anybody could have done in that situation, and went to Australia and won, WBC world title. So
And I feel like you don't really like see like I feel like they tried to hide that loss because like I don't see anything about it on social media. Nothing.
yeah.
It's like in my mind I thought Sky Nicholson was undefeated. I never looked into it because I thought she never lost because that's how they made it seem.
Yeah, I mean, look, and that's credit to Matchroom, right? That's
Yeah.
what a promoter's supposed to do. There's, in my opinion, I'll say, like a promoter's supposed to stand by their fighter through thick and thin for the most part. In a situation like that, like Sky took a tough fight and had a bad night, and she lost, and that's what it was. But credit to Eddie Hearn and Frank Smith and all those guys at Matchroom because they built her back up. They didn't just toss her aside and say, forget it. Like now you lost one fight, we're done with you. She moved down to 122 pounds. She just won an interim title at 122 pounds. And, I think that's a credit to the sport. And I think it shows what could be going forward, that one loss doesn't define you anymore. It's not a situation where, you take a tough fight, you lose, and then nobody wants to work with you ever again. And I think the more we see fighters, taking tough fights, losing, coming back, winning big fights, winning titles after that, will give fighters the confidence to go into a fight that they think is a 50-50 fight and take a shot at being great. Yeah, I think that's a great thing for the sport.
Well, where do you see yourself in like 5 to 10 years of boxing?
Man, I don't know where I see myself tomorrow. So I don't know. Look, to me, I just want to continue to help fighters. I want to continue to help, boxers who are on the come up, whether that's from the amateurs and advising people, helping them make the right decisions, connecting them to the right people. We're obviously like everybody else. I want to be working the biggest fights in the world and be a part of, the biggest world championship bouts, whether that's, in Vegas and China and Japan. It doesn't matter, you know what I mean? And I think that at the end of the day, like just being involved and continuing to find my little niche and my little pockets that I can help people and continuing to be like a credit to the sport, I think is where I see myself.
Well, listen, when's the next Long Island boxing charities event?
Yeah, so we're working on it right now. It'll probably be at the end of the summer in August. We're gonna bring back Night at the Movies. So we're working on the movie and the athlete that we're gonna bring in. So in the past, as you know, we've done the fighter with the story of Mickey Ward, and we brought Mickey Ward in, and fans got to watch the movie with him and then ask him about his career in the movie. We did Bleed for This with Vinny Pazienza, I think 3 years ago now. We watched Bleed for This with Miles Teller, great movie, the story of Vinny Pazienza's life, and then had Vinny Paz there to ask questions to and ask, about his life in the movie. And then most recently, we did The Good Son with Ray Boom Boom Mancini, which was a really cool moment for me because, growing up in an Italian family, Ray being Italian from Ohio, my dad came and was like enthralled with the whole thing that he got to meet Ray Mancini. And we actually got to go out to a diner afterwards and have dinner, just me, my dad, and Ray Boo Boo Mancini, which was probably like a top 5 boxing moment for me in my career, just to be there and listen to my dad ask all kinds of questions and stuff like that. So August, we're going to be doing our next one. We're going to announce the movie and the fighter that we're bringing in, hopefully soon.
Any
And we
hints?
can, we'll see. We're looking at
Maybe
some.
Paulie? Can we bring in
Maybe
Paulie?
Paulie, yeah. And we're looking at one of the bigger movies with a former world champion who's being inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame this year. So I'll leave it at that. So it could be a really cool experience for everybody. That's the hope.
Okay, but maybe we could get Paulie there because I've been messaging him. I messaged Chris Algieri. He said I'll try and get him on. I messaged Jermel Hearing. I
Yeah.
keep hearing. I'll try and get him on. But Paulie, I have heard nothing from him. And listen, I
Hey, he's a
tell
busy
everybody
man.
this. Yeah, I tell everybody this. I'm like, he just had a BAKFC fight. They're like, oh, Paulie lost. I'm like, you know why he lost? Because he didn't come on my podcast. If he would have
Yeah.
came, he would have
This
had
is
good
the
luck.
good luck podcast, huh? You got to come on here before he fights. I like that.
Yeah, the WBC cruiserweight champion. He came on here like a couple days before he fought, and then
Mhm.
he was actually robbed against Badou Jack. Then he went to the boxing council, and they granted him a rematch. But you
Mhm.
know what was messed up too in that fight? His team came in the ring trying to get like a disqualification because if they did that, Badou Jack keeps his belt, and then he's on to a bigger fight.
That doesn't matter, right? Right.
Yeah, so good thing that didn't happen, and then he got his by split. So by split
Crazy.
decision, he got the belt back. It
Yep.
was mess. And I said this. I wish I was able to bet because I said split decision. the dark horse gets it in this fight, and
Yeah.
turns out he got it by split decision and got his belt back. The Good Luck
Yeah.
podcast right
That's
here.
it, man. You're an oracle. You're making the future happen one interview at a time.
Well, how do you get fighters like social media is up and running? Like, do you show them like how to work it or whatever, like get it done?
Yeah, I think it's some fighters it comes naturally. They're just good at making content. They understand it. And then some people it's just not natural at all. Like, even for yourself, I'm sure when you first started doing this interview situation and everything else, like it was new, it was confusing. You're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't. And now you're starting to figure it out. And you're learning, hey, this thing works. I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna try this. It didn't work. I'm gonna stop doing it. For example, I'll use another fighter I used to work with named Johnny Mansour and Juju Ballo. So Johnny Mansour and Juju Ballo, fantastic human beings. Forget how they fight. Just as people, they're great people. As fighters, they're even better. But they really understand social media. They understand how to market themselves. And at the end of the day, I think the key for any fighter who's trying to become somebody is it's one thing to have the boxing fans that are going to be looking for you, find you on Instagram, find you on social. It's another thing to cross over into the mainstream where maybe I'm not a boxing fan, but now I'm interested in what you're doing because whatever it is, I just decided that I'm interested in it. And those are two kids that I think really understand the value of that and really understand how to build a fan base of not boxing people that want to watch them fight because they feel connected to them. So to answer your question more directly, for the fighters that are really good at it, sometimes we just talk their stories and we talk through, hey, what are things we want to put out that show who you are and tell the story of you. And, maybe you're funny. Maybe there's a comedy skit you want to do. Maybe you don't like doing that kind of stuff and you like doing more in the gym workouts and videos of you training, like figuring out what works for that fighter and then helping them across the line. So at overtime, like we had a huge team that was able to help on the social media front, getting fighters involved into different things. Generally speaking, though, when I'm dealing with fighters, we just talk through different ways in which they can get more involved on social media, whether that's more reels or more photos, videos, whatever it is. So it's really just a conversation and a willingness from the fighter to actually do those things. You know what I mean? Get involved and post and put themselves out there because that's not the easiest thing either.
Hey, you gonna be at Starbucks' next card? We could do an in-person interview.
Yeah, yeah, June 27th, right at the Paramount.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be there 100% because I found out the June 27th card at the Barclays Center. I
Yeah,
thought it was a top rank card. I was like, oh, there's no
no,
way I'm getting in. There's
yeah.
no way. There's no way. So then I looked into it, right? And then I saw it was Matchroom. I was like, Anthony Lever knows me because I forgot my ID and he literally yelled at me in front of everybody. I was like, oh, he's gonna remember my name. So then I sent the application and I still got to see what's going on there.
No, that's good. Yeah, I mean, great card. That's Boots and Xander's is awesome. Bryce Mills and Vargas. And I worked with Bryce on the Pacquiao card. Great kid, great family. So that should be a good fight. And then Richie Rivera and Ben Whitaker, another guy I used to work with, and Richie Rivera with Star. So a lot of my past on the card, which is really cool. Really cool to see guys like I said. Start where I started with them at, and 5, 6, 7, 10 years later, you see them now on the biggest card in the sport, and I think that's what it's all about.
And Star Boxing though, I know they're having a great card, and I wish it was just like maybe like June 28th where you could go to
Yeah,
both.
June 26th, right, right, right.
Yeah, yeah, it would have been great, to have that card. Then you go to the other one, but they're having it on the same day, so
Yeah, yeah, it is
you
what it
just
is.
got, you just have to watch
Nature
it
of the
on your
beast.
phone.
Yeah, exactly, nature of the beast.
Yeah, well, what's going on? What are you doing after this interview?
After this interview, I'm going home to my wife and my 7-month-old son, and gonna enjoy hopefully a calm Memorial Day weekend. I've been traveling the last couple weeks, so being home is gonna be nice this weekend and just relaxing with my son and my wife.
Where are you at right now? Your office?
Yeah, this is my office. I'll give you a little quick sneak peek. So I got my credentials from all the fights I've worked over the years. Diploma I got from when Joe Smith won the WBO world title. I got a little thing there. Let's see what else. I got some just like little trinkety stuff that I like. Some Muhammad Ali posters, stamps. I mean, and then over here I have an OTX. An OTX article that was written in Ring Magazine that we were featured in. Mike, I'm a big Met fan, so Mike Tyson and Darryl Strawberry and Doc Gooden, and then a poster from an amateur event that I ran back in 2018, and that's it. That's the office. A little house tour for you there.
Well, who's the most famous fighter you ever met?
Probably Manny Pacquiao. Yeah, definitely Manny Pacquiao. I'd say I got to have dinner with him and meet him out at the Pachanga when we did the show out west back in I want to say May. Um, Super nice, super down to earth, very cool person. Cool to just hear his, I mean, what a life story coming from the Philippines and then to the highest level of the sport, and to just be so kind and welcoming to answering questions and everything else was a treat. Like I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. And they say don't meet your heroes, don't meet your idols, but I was glad to have met him, and that's something I'll always remember for sure.
Yeah, I heard that saying before. I was on with Bryce Taylor yesterday. He said the same thing. It all depends on like how some of those people are. Some of them are nice, some of them are like rude, and
Yeah, listen,
and
man. I mean, it's like anything else. You don't know what someone's going through ever, right? You never know what someone's going through. And B, I think it depends on where you meet somebody. Like, if I just had a full day of interviews and I'm running around the city doing this, that, and the other, and then I go to a fight and I just want to sit and relax and watch a fight, like maybe not going to be as open to answering questions or that kind of thing. So people might take that as, oh, that guy was a real jerk. He was an asshole. But in reality, he just had a long day. You know what I mean? So I always try and keep an open mind, especially fighters, whether they're cutting weight, they're trying to make weight, they're trying to get an opportunity, whatever it is, there's always that mental game going on. So I always try and keep an open mind with fighters as to like how they respond or react to people, because, it's a lot being in that position, and you got to understand that.
well, me, I always talk. I actually live stream at like 10 a.m. in the morning, and I just talk until
Straight
like,
through.
yeah, I got to do an interview. Like right now, I was actually live streaming,
Mm.
and I've been getting like 100 to like 150 subs, right? So
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, so I started off like I think 5 days ago I started streaming, and I started off with 300, right? Then I worked my way up to 346, and then today almost 700. So today I'm aiming for 700. I'm going to start another live after this, a
That's
late
awesome.
night live.
No, that's good, man. That's the commitment you need. It's like anything else you do. If you're gonna do it full speed ahead, right? Don't half ass it. So
Yeah, people don't like when I talk boxing though in the late night lives. They just want me to be like a clown the whole time. I'm like, guys, no, I got to promote some fights.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, stick to what you love. I think if uh like boxing, right? Like when I got into it, I fell in love with it. Like it doesn't feel like work to me. I'm taking phone calls at all hours, and don't get me wrong, sometimes you're tired and stressed, but a fighter calls me or a manager calls me about a fight or whatever the case might be. It doesn't feel like work. It just feels like, I'm having fun. So
Well, are you watching Usyk versus Rico tomorrow?
yeah, yeah, I'll probably watch it. I'm upset about it, but I'll watch it. Yeah.
Well, listen, if you're gonna watch it, you got to buy it through my link.
All right, send it over. I'll buy it through your link.
It's
You
in
got
my
it.
bio on Instagram. I'll send it to you though. You got to get it through mine.
Perfect. Perfect. You got it.
Yeah.
You consider it done.
I wanna be a big name in the zone. We gotta. They gave me like a link. They said if I get a good amount of stuff on there, we'll do something. So
Good. Good. I hear they're trying to do more like creators, get more creators involved,
yeah.
influencers involved, and stuff like that. So no, that's good that you're in that spot. You have any fights coming up?
I do want to get one. I just got back in the gym after my finger. I started hitting the bag again. I still have to wait 2 weeks to spar, but I was watching people spar when the first day I came back. Right, I was watching people spar, and I was like, oh, like you miss it once you see
Yeah.
somebody else spar. You're like, oh, because you want to punch somebody. You haven't
Right,
punched somebody
right.
in a while. You really want to punch somebody. I don't know if you get that feeling where you like to punch people, and then you can't punch people because your
Right.
fingers. So yeah, I wanted to punch somebody. So I hit the heavy bag, speed bag, double end bag. Did the whole thing. No, I don't hit the speed bag. I didn't mean to say that. I don't believe hitting the speed bag. What is that? Just for hand and eye coordination? Come on, what's a
Yeah.
speed bag for?
Maybe
That
maybe shoulders. I don't know.
just to make you look
Balance.
pretty.
Yeah,
My
it's all
coach
right.
says. My coach says. He only trains um A, B personalities, A being the best and B being the least. The B personalities are the ones who go for the speed bag first or the double end bag. The A personalities go for the heavy bag. So I'm
Yeah,
the A guy.
there you go. That's good, man. That's good. No, keep it up, man. I've been watching you obviously fight and all that, and the ringmasters and whatnot. So keep doing your thing. It's cool to see.
Well, lately on a live stream on YouTube, I've been calling out every day. I've been calling out Nate Diaz for a fight, and he hasn't been saying it every day. I've been calling him out, Nate Diaz.
Maybe he's scared. You never know. Maybe Nate Diaz saw
Yeah.
the what's next kid. And he's like, I don't want any of that work.
Well, I actually believe I could beat Nate Diaz.
All right, that'd be a good fight. We should see it.
Yeah,
Hopefully
we
he
gotta.
responds.
I will take $0 for it. We'll do it live on Instagram.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
You got to fly out to Stockton and go see him.
Well, it was nice talking to you. You want to add
You too,
anything
man.
else while we're here?
No, no. Check out Long Island Boxing Charities on social media. It's a really a great organization, especially if you're into just boxers and boxers of the past, helping boxers of the future. You can check me out at T-Tones on Instagram, T-Tones4 on Instagram, and pretty much everywhere else. And hope to see you guys at some of the next fights we got going on. So,
Well, I'll see you. All right, I'm gonna end it right now.
perfect, man. Good to talk to
All
you.
right.
Talk
See you.
soon.